Welcome to the Anthropic Claude Certified Architect Foundations CCA-F Question Bank Series. In this video, I've got 10 exam-style practice questions lined up for you, covering the kind of agentic architecture, Claude code, prompt engineering, tool and MCP design, and context management scenarios you'll see on the real CCA-F exam. Each question comes with the correct answer and a full explanation, including why the wrong options are wrong. Here's how to get the most out of this. When a question appears, pause the video, pick your answer, then hit play to check yourself. Ready? Let's dive in. Question 151. A project has two MCP servers connected that both expose issue tracker capabilities, one for a legacy system being retired and one for its replacement. Sessions sometimes act against the legacy system by mistake. What is the cleanest resolution? The correct answer is A. Disconnect the legacy server once migration allows, and until then, make the distinction unambiguous in the server and tool naming. Two servers offering the same capability is an ambiguity the model has to resolve on every call. Removing the retiring server eliminates it, and while both must coexist, naming that makes the distinction obvious is the practical mitigation. Now, why the other options are wrong? Keep both connected and add a Claude.md note about which one to prefer is incorrect. A note helps but leaves an ambiguous tool surface in place, and it will be inconsistently applied across many calls. Keep both connected and rely on the model inferring the right system from context is incorrect. This is the current situation that is producing mistakes. Connect both, but restrict the legacy server to read-only access is incorrect. This limits the damage from a wrong choice, which is worthwhile, but it does not resolve the ambiguity that causes the wrong choice. Question 152. A change requires coordinated edits to a backend repository and a separate client repository. What is the most practical way to work on this? The correct answer is B. Open the work with access to both repositories and record in each repository's project memory that a counterpart change is expected in the other. Cross-repository work needs both sides visible so the interface change can be kept consistent, and documenting the dependency in each repository ensures the relationship is not lost when someone later works on only one side. Now, why the other options are wrong. Complete the backend change fully, then start a separate session for the client is incorrect. Sequential work is sometimes necessary, but here risks the two sides drifting, since the client's requirements often reveal problems in the backend interface. Copy the client code into the backend repository temporarily so both are in one place is incorrect. Temporarily relocating code creates a divergent copy that must be moved back and reconciled, which invites mistakes. Work only in the backend repository and describe the required client change in a comment is incorrect. The client change still has to be made, and a comment in another repository is a poor mechanism for coordinating it. Question 153. During an incident, an engineer wants to use Claude code to investigate production logs and metrics quickly, but the team is nervous about accidental changes to production. How should this be set up? The correct answer is C. Grant only read-only credentials and permit only read-oriented tools for the investigation, so no right path to production exists in that session. Investigation requires reading, not writing, so the session should be configured with read-only credentials and read-only tool permissions. With no write capability present, an accidental or misjudged action cannot alter production. Now, why the other options are wrong? Use full production credentials, but instruct the agent to only read and never modify anything is incorrect. This leaves the write capability available under time pressure, protected only by an instruction, which is exactly the risk the team identified. Avoid using the agent during incidents and investigate manually is incorrect. This forgoes real value at the moment speed matters most, when the underlying concern is straightforward to address with scoped credentials. Use full credentials but require a second engineer to watch the session is incorrect. A human observer may catch some mistakes but is an unreliable control during a high-pressure incident. Question 154. A team needs 3 things: a rule that always applies in a repository, a long procedure used only when releasing, and a shortcut for a prompt engineers type several times a day. Which mechanisms fit? The correct answer is D, Claude.md for the always applicable rule, a skill for the release procedure, and a custom /command for the frequently typed prompt. Each mechanism matches a different need: project memory for what must always be in context, a skill for procedural knowledge loaded when the task arises, and a command for a repeated user-initiated invocation. Now, why the other options are wrong? Claude.md for all 3, since it is the simplest place to put project knowledge, is incorrect. This loads the long release procedure into every session and still leaves engineers typing the repeated prompt in full. Skills for all 3, since skills can contain any instructions, is incorrect. An always applicable rule should be reliably present rather than dependent on task matching, and a skill is not an invocation shortcut. /commands for all 3, since any of them can be invoked when needed, is incorrect. An always applicable rule should not require invocation, and a command is a poor container for a procedure that should load contextually. Question 155. An engineer wrote a pre-tool use hook, but it never appears to run. What should they check first? The correct answer is A, that the hook is registered in a settings file the session actually loads, that its matcher matches the tool being used, and that it is executable and returning correctly. A hook that never fires almost always fails at registration, matching, or execution. Checking that the session loads the file it is defined in, that the matcher covers the tool in question, and that the script runs and returns properly covers the realistic causes. Now, why the other options are wrong? That the model is aware the hook exists by describing it in Claude.md is incorrect. Hooks are enforced by the runtime, not chosen by the model. It does not need to know about them for them to fire. That the hook's logic is correct, since a logic error would prevent it from running, is incorrect. A logic error would produce wrong behavior once it ran. It does not explain the hook never running at all. That the repository has no other hooks, since only one hook can be active at a time, is incorrect. Multiple hooks can coexist, so this is not the constraint. Question 156. A team requires that all changes reach main through a pull request and wants to make direct commits to main from an agent session impossible. What is the appropriate approach? The correct answer is B. Enforce it on the server with branch protection on main, and additionally block the action locally with a hook so the attempt fails early. Branch protection at the remote is the authoritative control that cannot be bypassed locally, and a local hook gives fast feedback rather than letting work proceed to a push that will be rejected. The 2 layers complement each other. Now, why the other options are wrong? A Claude.md instruction stating that all changes must go through a pull request is incorrect. This communicates the policy but enforces nothing, which is what the team explicitly wants. A local hook alone that blocks commits to main is incorrect. A local hook is useful but only covers configured environments and can be bypassed. The authoritative control belongs at the remote. A code review checklist item asking reviewers to confirm no direct commits occurred is incorrect. By the time a reviewer checks, the commit has already landed on main. Question 157. A team wants agent-authored changes to be verifiably correct rather than plausible-looking. What workflow adjustment helps most? The correct answer is C. Have the failing test written and confirmed to fail first, then have the implementation written until that test passes. A test written before the implementation and confirmed to fail gives an objective external criterion for correctness. Without that, a passing test written alongside the code may simply encode whatever the code happens to do. Now, why the other options are wrong? Have the implementation written first, then tests generated from the finished code is incorrect. Tests derived from existing code tend to assert current behavior, including any bugs, so they confirm little. Have the agent explain its reasoning in detail before writing any code is incorrect. An explanation is useful for review, but is not verification. Plausible reasoning can still accompany incorrect code. Require that all changes be small, so correctness is easier to judge by eye is incorrect. Small changes help review, but visual inspection is still a subjective check rather than an executable one. Question 158. Several parallel agent-authored branches now conflict with main, which has moved on. What practice reduces this friction going forward? The correct answer is D. Keep each branch's scope narrow and rebase or merge from main frequently, so divergence is resolved in small increments. Conflict pain grows with the size and age of a divergence. Narrow scope and frequent integration keep each reconciliation small and comprehensible, which is the standard remedy regardless of who authored the change. Now, why the other options are wrong? Have the agent resolve all conflicts automatically without review is incorrect. Conflict resolution encodes intent decisions about which change should win, so it warrants review rather than blind automation. Work on fewer branches at a time by serializing all work through main is incorrect. This eliminates conflicts by eliminating parallelism, which is a heavy cost when the parallel work is genuinely independent. Always take main's version when a conflict occurs to keep history clean is incorrect. Mechanically preferring one side discards the branch's intended change, silently losing work. Question 159. A security team asks which plugins, skills, and MCP servers are in use across a 40-person engineering organization. Nobody knows. What should be established? The correct answer is A. An inventory of approved extensions with configuration held in version control where it can be reviewed, so what is in use is discoverable rather than assumed. The underlying problem is that configuration lives in places nobody can see. Holding shared configuration in version control and maintaining an approved inventory makes the answer verifiable and turns changes into reviewable events. Now, why the other options are wrong? A one-off survey asking engineers to list what they have installed is incorrect. A self-reported snapshot is incomplete, immediately stale, and gives no ongoing visibility. A policy forbidding any plugin or MCP server not installed by the platform team is incorrect. A restrictive policy without visibility is unenforceable, and it may block legitimate productivity for no measurable security gain. Nothing, since extensions run locally and are each individual engineer's choice, is incorrect. These extensions can hold credentials and reach internal systems, so their use is an organizational concern. Question 160. Sessions in a repository frequently read large lock files and build output directories, consuming context without benefit. What is the appropriate fix? The correct answer is B. Configure those paths to be excluded from what sessions read, and note in project memory that they are generated artifacts. Generated files are derived, high volume, and rarely informative, so excluding them from what sessions read directly addresses the wasted context. Noting that they are generated prevents time being spent reasoning about their contents. Now, why the other options are wrong. Delete the lock files and build output from the repository is incorrect. Lock files are deliberately committed to pin dependency versions. Deleting them breaks reproducible installs. Instruct the model in each session not to read those files is incorrect. This depends on the instruction being followed every session and does not prevent the read. Reduce the repository size by archiving old build output elsewhere is incorrect. Build output should not be committed at all, but archiving does not address lock files or the general exclusion need. And that's a wrap on this video. Nice work getting through those 10 questions. If this helped, you're going to want the complete set. All 390 exam-style questions, with full explanations across all 5 CCA-F domains, are available in my Udemy course, Anthropic Claude Certified Architect Foundations, CCA-F, 6 full practice exams. The link is in the description below. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video, where I'll walk you through 10 more questions. See you in the next video.